So we've done something pretty cool, but it's also quite hard to put into words. So watch this next 60-second clip and then I'll explain a bit more.
What do adultery, a French knight, and the devil have in common? Knight of the Red Cross, Lord Sir Gonzac, returns from the Holy War to find his wife in bed with another. It is the 17th century, so he kills them both in a righteous rage. A usually pious man, his sins now plague his dreams in the form of the devil. Each night for weeks without end, the devil gleefully roasts Sir Gonzac alive. Not once, but twice. One night, Sir Gonzac wakes and reaches for his favourite Dutch brandewijn. The breaking dawn alights the liquid, bathing it in a golden fire. And he has an epiphany. What if it was all a holy message? A test from God to cleanse his sins and teach mortals the divine method of double distillation. By daybreak, Sir Gonzac had ordered his servants to redistill his stocks of brandewijn. The double distilled spirit was superior to anything he had tasted before, and thus cognac was introduced to the world. A divine gift, or so the legend says.
As you all know, we bottled this, a 27-year-old Macallan for the coronation. Well, this time we've bottled something different. We've bottled this, and that's what you've just seen in the clip. We've gone and bottled a cognac, people. It isn't a single malt whiskey, it is a cognac, and it's a pretty damn special cognac too, which is why I thought I'd introduce it to you with this video. We've got it up for sale. It's 150 quid, but there is a discount code. If you're lucky, down below in the comments, that might still be valid by the time you're watching this. And it's amazing. So what is it? It's a 29-year-old Grande Champagne single cask strength cognac, and it's absolutely amazing. That video, that sort of animation that you just saw about the history of cognac and how, you know, the legend of how cognac was born and the legend of double distillation is actually all reflected in this video. So you've got the devil, you've got Lord Sir Gonzac being double distilled, you've got the casks. So we thought we'd bring this story of cognac to life in this bottle because it really is a fascinating story, a fascinating legend, and that's why we commissioned that animation as well. Now, the bottles themselves are also pretty special. This one, the Macallan 27-year-old, these were Glencairn decanters. This 29-year-old cognac, £150 with a discount below, is also in a Glencairn crystal decanter. This is the same decanter that is used for the likes of the Kurosawa Geisha series, and it's called the Glencairn Supreme. Pretty much everybody uses it these days because it's really nice. And again, if you've been watching my other videos, you'll know that these big lumps of glass at the bottom mean that it's got a quality good inside. But it really is a fascinating bottle, really nicely presented. But let me sort of tell you about the story about how this came to be, because as you probably know, I'm a whiskey broker. I sell bottles and casks for people, especially casks that people invested in many moons ago and are then selling now. Important this, they all own them with a delivery order, so they're free to sell them independently, how and to whoever they want. You can't do that unless you've got a delivery order or autonomy at the warehouse. Anyway, this cask was bought by a gentleman in the south of England many moons ago. He then decided he wanted to sell it, but he didn't want to necessarily just sell the cask. He wanted to have a bit of fun. It was a plaything, so he wanted to bottle it and then to release it. And how did he do that? Well, he didn't know how to do. So he got in touch with us because he saw the Macallan 27-year-old that we were doing at the same time. And this came about because he saw us and this is what we can do. So we commissioned all of the artwork on this. We've designed all the artwork. It's an amazing, it's a limited edition of 247 bottles, people. Cask strength at 51.9% ABV. So, and again, on the back, you'll see a bit more of the story there. And again, these aren't technically our bottles. We're selling them on behalf of a client. Now, hands up if you know what cognac is. Get in the comments below who's tried cognac before, because I know we're a whiskey channel, aren't we? But believe me, this is special cognac that you really can't miss, really. So let's really reduce cognac, or distill cognac down to its absolute essence? Well, if the absolute terrible reductionist idea that whiskey is distilled beer, then cognac is distilled wine. Now, cognac is not brandy. It uses brandy, so to speak, because cognac is a double distilled spirit in the same way that whiskey is a double distilled spirit. So, and there's lots of comparables between whiskey and cognac. So let's sort of like look at some of these comparables and see what they are. So first things first, harvest. Although cognac is made from grapes, and very specific types of grapes, the producers like Hennessy, Martell, Remy Martin, etc., they don't grow the grapes that they use to make the cognac in the same way that like many distilleries don't grow the barley that they use to make the whiskey. So in some ways, the cognac houses and the whiskey distilleries are very similar in terms of they outsource the products from other producers and bring them in and to make them. As you've heard already in the animation and things, this is a double distilled spirit. So cognac is distilled twice. Thank you, Lord Sagonzac, for being burned alive in your dreams and coming up with cognac. There's a bit of a artistic license in this legend, I think, but it's the same as whiskey. Whiskey is distilled at least 2 times. You distill first and you get your low wines and then you distill again, or 2.5 times or 3 times in the cases of some distilleries. And cognac, like Scotch whisky, is geographically protected in terms of all the cognac has to be made from grapes grown in the cognac region, and it has to be produced in that region too. It doesn't need to mature there though, which is why you end up with casks like this that have been bottled that haven't necessarily been matured in France. It's the same with rum. You don't need to mature rum in the Caribbean or Caribbean. You can mature it in Liverpool, pretty much where everybody has historically matured their rum. Now, cognac maturation is also quite similar to whiskey. So this is a 29-year-old cognac. As you can see here, we've got this lovely copper foiling on the label as well. Again, the copper's just reflecting the copper stills. The copper of the stills used to distill. But this is a 29-year-old cognac. It was distilled in 1993 and it was bottled in 2023. It really is a stunning cognac. Now, with cognacs, you won't find many age statements, but what you'll find is sort of like age categories. So very quickly speaking, you normally see VS, very special, which has been matured for at least 2 years. You get VSOP, very special old pale. Now that means it's been matured for at least 4 years. Then you get XO, which is extra old, so it's aged for at least 10 years. And then you get Hors d'Age. I'm not French, I can't speak French, I can barely speak English sometimes. And that means beyond age, and that means it's typically for very high quality, very well-aged cognacs, normally 30 years and above. But typically, most cognacs are blends, a bit like Johnny Walker is really. They don't normally bottle them from single casks like this is. This is a single cask. It's a bit more like Johnny Walker Blue Label than it is like a Macallan 18-year-old. So there's lots of age statements that go into these. So Remy Martin's like Louis XIII, for instance, that has sort of cognacs in there up to 100 years old, apparently. Again, another comparison between cognac and whiskey, it all has to mature for a minimum period in oak casks. Same as whiskey, except with cognac it's 2 years, and with whiskey it is, or Scotch whiskey, it is 3 years. And again, they're French, aren't they? Limousin oak, it's typically European oak that's used for these. But again, because the maturation vessels are the same as in oak casks, you do end up with similar notes, vanillas and this, that and the other coming through into them. Now, we know that this is a badass looking bottle. I mean, if I do say so myself, it really is cool. Like, it does look ace, and the story behind it is really good. We've got an unusual age statement on there, 29 years old. Very unusual to find an age statement. But it's also, look at these words here, Appellation Grande Champagne Cognac. Basically means that it's come from what is known as the Grande Champagne region. And the Grande Champagne region is literally the best of the best. If this was wine, this would be like your Chateau Lafitte's and Chateau Latour's, your Premier Crus. In Burgundy, it would be like your DRC's. It really is the absolute finest region in cognac, because as we've mentioned, all of these grapes had to be grown in cognac, in the cognac region. And the cognac region, now confusingly, some of the designations or regions are called, so that the best one is called Grande Champagne, and that's known for producing the finest and highest quality eau de vie, which is like the liquid, like essentially new make, should we say, with the longest aging potential. And then you've got Petit Champagne, which is slightly less prestigious than Grand Champagne. Now, this isn't from the Champagne region. This is just, it's named Champagne because it's very similar in terms of the soil construction, in terms of it's very chalky. So it's the composition of the soil that's drawing the comparison to Champagne. There's several other regions in the Cognac region as well. Bordeaux and Fine Bois, and I think there's another one as well, but these are much smaller. And so in the case of Bordeaux, and then the other ones are known for producing cognac that isn't particularly best suited for long-term maturation. Think of like your grain whiskies versus your finest single malts and your qualities of casks. Now, this is Grande Champagne Cognac. This is the best of the best. This is the premier cru. This is the bee's knees or the dog's what's-its, whatever you want to call it. This is the best of the best. And to put it into context, it's Grande Champagne Cognac. It's very... well, it's amazing. Think of Louis XIII by Remy Martin. That's £3,000 a bottle. Hennessy Paradise Imperial. That's, again, another £3,000 Grand Champagne Cognac. Hardy Perfection. That's the Lumiere. That's about £8,000 a bottle. Martel Le Haut de Jean Martel is about £2,000 a bottle. But again, they're all like Johnny Walker Blue Labels in a way. And also, come on, their presentation is a bit better than ours as well. I know ours is nice, but theirs are on another level. Think of the Louis XIII with the Baccarat decanter, for instance. But unlike all of those, that are blends of lots of different casks, lots of different age statements, this is a single cask, single age statement, cask strength whiskey. Cognac. Too much whiskey on this channel. Cognac. It's cognac, people. Now, is it any good, is the question that you're going to ask me now. And I can't swear, it's fantastic. It really, really is amazing. Angus at WhiskyFun gave us some tasting notes, and we'll put these on screen and we'll put them down. We'll pin them in one of the comments as well with the discount code so you get an idea of that. And yeah, you know what? It's not single malt whiskey, so you're not going to get any of those malty notes, but you are going to get a lot of those notes that people really enjoy in their whiskies. So from Angus's tasting notes here, pull out some tasting profiles that you might recognise from some of the whiskies that you enjoy. Raisins, bitter orange marmalade, dates, figs, plums. So it's like a really sweet and sort of like rich aromatic cognac. It really, really is good. And then again on the finish, it's like, I mean, his quote, his note said peaches stewed in honey and some bitter herbs and dark chocolate notes too. So this is really like an unctuous, sweet, beautiful, let's use the word Christmas cake. Everyone loves the Christmas cake tasting notes, don't they? It just really is fantastic. So it's very, very, very approachable. It's very drinkable. And also, again, I've asked you to go in the comments below to see if you've tried cognac before. A lot of cognacs are bottled at around 40 or 43% ABV, like a lot of the blended whiskies that you see, like Johnny Walker and things. This is 51.9% ABV. So this is going to have a lot more, I don't know, what's the word? It's going to be a lot more robust than any cognacs that you may have tried before. It's a bit like tasting cask strength whiskey versus a Johnny Walker blended whiskey, or a standard core range 40% 12-year-old for something like that's been chill filtered and stuff. So don't be scared. This is really exceptional cognac. And what else can you buy for 29-year-old? Look, we've got Christmas coming in a few months' time, haven't we? Why not buy something that people, your friends, your family, your dad, whatever, hasn't probably seen before? Get them a beautiful bottle of this cognac. Discount code below. So there you go. Of course, I like it. I've designed it with some amazing designers, and we're going to do a bit more and tell you about who some of these designers were in the future. But like, it really is a beautiful cognac. If you don't want to drink it, you can pop it on your shelf and it looks incredible too. Again, if you're into playing Cluedo, like, there's good got to be 2 kilos worth of glass and liquid there. And of course, you know it's got the big dollop of glass at the bottom, so you know it's good.